CAA football is counting down the days until opening kickoff for the 2014 CAA football season. I am Bobby Broyles alongside my colleague Tim McDonald, and over the next few weeks we will provide team-by-team previews to get you ready for the start of the season. Today we take a look at the Rhode Island Rams, and Tim, Rhodey is another team that has a new leader in head coach Jim Fleming. We talked about Elon's Rich Skrosky coming in as more of an offensive-minded coach, but it is quite the opposite for Fleming, who comes in more with a defensive background.
Yeah, you mentioned new head coaches in this league. It's a theme right now. You look at Jim Fleming and what he brings to the table. UCF was a team last year who only had one loss, made it all the way to Tita's Fiesta Bowl. If you can hold Baylor to 42 points and win a bowl game win a major bowl game, Bob, then you're doing something right on defense. Last year, UCF only gave up 362 yards per game, 21.3 points. And, look at Rhode Island over the last couple of years. When they made this hire, not only did it make sense because of his history with New England ties, he's coached all over the place, but it also made sense just in the fact that Rhode Island, we've never really seen Rhode Island over the last couple of years have a theme. They've never been known as really an offensive or a defensive team. Now you think at least that Fleming's going to come in and they're going to start to build something and start it on the defensive side of the ball.
And you have to like the attitude Jim Fleming has coming in. He loves coaching these types of players. He said it at Media Day. He loves coaching.
It was my favorite quote at Media Day.
He loves coaching FCS. He loves coaching players who have been told no.
And it goes back to my point where he's had stints at the FCS level. You look at what he did at Sacred Heart. First year they go 10-1. Second year they go 11-0. Yes, this is in 2000 and 2001. Still, if he was able to win at Sacred Heart and do that, you like to think that his next shot as a head coach is probably going to be something special too. Also, he's coached at Villanova. He's coached at Boise State back when they were in the FCS. In terms of experience, he's got everything ready for the table. I think it's just a question of how it's going to translate.
Well, we got to catch up with Jim Fleming, and this is what he had to say at Media Day.
Any kind of successful organization starts off with the labor. Those are our guys, and they're working extremely hard. They're doing the things that are necessary, that I know are necessary for college football players to be able to reach their fullest potential as players, and as a result of that, be able to bring it into a cohesive effort that's their best team. But in terms of long-range success, you've got to be able to go ahead and look at all the different tentacles that outreach from the heart of the program, which is the players, off to any area that touches those kids. So, we've got to have administrative support, which, we've got a great administration in place that absolutely believes in the future of football and the necessity for football at the University of Rhode Island. You've got to go out to the state. We're the state institution. We have got to be able to present a product on the field that will be adopted and become a source of pride for the state of Rhode Island. And once you're able to get all of those things, kind of woven into the same fabric, then I think you've got a championship formula. And I think that if we can get everybody hitting on all cylinders, get a little bit of momentum, be able to bring some wins together, then I think that the program will feed and the people will feed the program, and I think it has an opportunity to blossom, be able to represent the state of Rhode Island in the first-class fashion and be able to go ahead and compete at a national level.
Fleming has to be excited as a defensive-minded coach to build that unit around preseason All-CAA linebacker Andrew Bose.
Yeah, you look at Andrew Bose and you look at a guy who was a second-team All-CAA football performer last year, led the team with 75 total tackles, including 7 for a loss, Bob. You look at Bose and you think at this level of football, especially at CAA, how important it is to have guys who return. Not just experience-wise, but as a leader. We know this Rhode Island team is probably, gonna take some hits and some bruises on the defensive side of the ball. Not just because they're young, Bob, but installing a new scheme, a new attacking style of defense. And this, like we mentioned, this will be his 3rd year as a starter. I think you just look to him and you say, 3 years, he's got to be the leader. You really, you hate to say you don't know anyone on Rhode Island defensively, but you look at Bose and that's where it starts. And if he can fly around like he did last year, you see him all over the place for highlights. I think Rhode Island that's the starting point for their leader.
Once again, head coach Jim Fleming on senior linebacker Andrew Bose.
Yeah, of course, I think he'll be one of our top leaders. He is our player on defense that everybody kind of looks to. We've gotten a lot of notoriety. But as you know, one guy does not make a football team. I think, that he is a guy that has got to be able to grow into the role of leadership, more and more as he goes into his senior year. He'll be expected to perform at a very high level, and we need him to. But, leaders can only do so much. You know, you have to have leadership from a few, and you have to have a good number of people that are willing to get in line and follow. And you know, it's like you look around this building here, when you think about Ray Lewis running around on that field, everybody was better on the field because of Ray Lewis, not because he was the greatest player on the field, which he might have been, but because he was going to put forth the effort necessary to win, and he would not accept anything less. That is what we've got to get out of our leadership, and that's what we have to get out of our team.
Tim, Rhode is coming off a 3-9 season. When we look at their schedule, I noticed 3 games in October where the Rams are at Villanova, then play back-to-back televised games on the new American Sports Network with a contest at Richmond, then home versus Maine. I think at that point of the season we'll find a lot about this new squad.
Yeah, if I may, I'm going to look at their schedule before that just to get an idea. You know, I love their out-of-conference games. At Marshall, that's going to be a very hard game. Then they play Fordham, who they also played last year, but Fordham's a team who, you know, a playoff team from last year, so very tough games. You know, you also have Central Connecticut State and Brown. Manageable games, but you're right. That minute that they get to October is where we're going to say, what type of Rhode Island team is this? Is it a team like we think that Jim Fleming's going to focus on defense? You know, offensively, who's going to be the quarterback? We know they have a transfer from Boston College, Mac Lowry. Colt Peavy is a guy last year, a lefty who we've seen. We saw play a little bit last year, not a lot of experience. Still, you know, just their schedule sets up the way where we get to see what they're going to look like in the early month of September. They do open up the week 4 with Albany in a conference game. We know that was a great game last year that went to overtime. But that month of October, Bob, at Nova, at Richmond, home versus Maine. I mean, ask anyone in the nation. Those are no cupcake games in any sense. It's really going to tell us what Rhode Island looks like and what's to expect.
The Rams kick off their season on the road, taking on FBS opponent Marshall Saturday night, September the 6th. CAA Football's 12 teams and 12-day series rolls on tomorrow as we take a look at UAlbany and their new head coach, Greg Cattuso, as he leads the Great Danes into their 2nd season in CAA football. For Tim McDonald, I'm Bobby Broyles. We'll see you tomorrow.